You didn't arrive here by accident. Somewhere between the noise of your day and the quiet you've been pretending you don't need, a door opened, and you stepped through it. That matters. Because there are moments that look ordinary on the outside, but are lit like a runway on the inside. Moments that whisper, "Come closer," even if you don't know why. And if you listen closely enough, you'll feel it. This is one of those moments. There is a hidden law moving through your life right now, and tonight you are going to remember how to use it, not as a theory, not as a pretty quote, but as a living key, a key that fits the lock you've been rattling for years. Florence Scovel Shinn used to say that words are spells, architects of the invisible, not because language is cute or poetic, but because the universe is obedient to clarity. Your world is not reacting to your wishes, it's responding to your convictions. It's not listening to your daydreams, it's listening to your declarations. And the truth is, most people are living inside houses they didn't mean to build, simply because they kept repeating the same sentences in the dark. Think about it. You've stood in front of mirrors, in front of bills, in front of empty inboxes, in front of shut doors, and whispered things like, "It never works out for me," or "I'm always behind," or "Maybe I'm not meant for that." You said it casually, protectively, like a coat you threw on to stay warm in a cold season. But coats left on too long start to feel like skin, and the universe, gentle, literal, and law-bound, heard you and said, "Yes, if that's what you are claiming, I will arrange a world that matches your claim." You are not being punished. You are being mirrored. So no, the question isn't, why is life doing this to me? The question is, what am I consenting to with my mouth, my focus, my expectations? Because consent is the quietest power you have. The moment you agree with limitation, limitation signs a lease. The moment you agree with possibility, possibility starts moving furniture into your future. There is a story in every life where a person gets tired of dragging a heavy thing and decides it must be their destiny. They name it reality. They carry it like a sacred burden. But it was never sacred. It was never yours. It was simply an old agreement you forgot to renegotiate. And here's what I need you to understand right now. Agreements can be broken. Patterns can be interrupted. Futures can be revised. There is no statute of limitations on your becoming. Imagine for a second that your life is a river. Every thought you think and every word you speak is a tributary feeding it. Some tributaries are clean, full of oxygen and light, hope, faith, gratitude, daring. Others are muddy, fear, resentment, self-dismissal, the cheap comfort of expecting nothing so you won't be disappointed. Your river does not judge where the water comes from. It just flows with what you pour in. If you want new scenery downstream, you don't curse the river. You change the tributaries. Florence called this the law of the spoken word. Modern world, ancient truth. The thought in your head is the blueprint. The word on your tongue is the construction crew. When you say, "I'm stuck," your mind begins to search for evidence of stuckness. When you say, "I'm guided," your attention becomes a magnet for guidance. When you say, "I always lose," you teach your nervous system to brace for loss. When you say, "I'm learning to win," you teach your instinct to look for doors instead of walls. So let's do something brave. Let's audit your inner language. Not with shame, not with perfectionism, but with clean honesty. What sentence have you been repeating that you are ready to retire? What line have you been using to explain your delays, your heartbreaks, your detours? Maybe it's, "People can't be trusted." Maybe it's, "Money is hard." Maybe it's, "Love never stays." Maybe it's, "I'm too old now," or "If it didn't happen by now, it won't happen." You've been saying that like a tired historian, but tonight you get to speak like an author. Because what if the delay wasn't a stop sign, but an edit? What if the detour wasn't rejection, but protection? What if the closed door wasn't the universe saying no, but the universe saying, "Not this, not yet, not like that"? You have no idea how many times you were spared from a life that would have looked right in pictures, but felt wrong in your chest. You are not late. You are being timed. Now, that doesn't mean you sit still waiting for some mystical lottery to land on your front porch. Faith isn't passive. Faith is a posture. It's how you walk while you wait. It's the way you hold your head when you don't see proof yet. It's the way you speak as if the unseen is already arranging itself behind the curtain. And yes, I know that's hard when you're tired, when you've watched other people get what you prayed for, when you feel like you've been the supporting character in everyone else's breakthrough while your own page stays blank. But I need you to hear this clearly. The blank page is not the end of your story. It is the space where your story is about to be written. Empty doesn't mean abandoned. Empty means available. If you feel empty right now, empty of motivation, empty of certainty, empty of joy, don't panic. Nature empties fields before planting. Winter is not a punishment, it's a strategy. The soil goes quiet so the roots can grow in secret. If your season feels quiet, maybe something is rooting deeper than your eyes can see. So if you want a practical start, here it is. Stop describing your life with yesterday's vocabulary. If you keep saying, "I'm overwhelmed," you will remain in the posture of overwhelm. Try this instead. "I am learning to be present." If you keep saying, "I'm broke," you keep your mind tethered to lack. Try, "Supply meets me in expected and unexpected ways." If you keep saying, "No one helps me," you keep telling your world, "Don't send help." Try, "Right people show up at the right time." Do you feel the difference? It's not denial, it's design. Your voice is a steering wheel, and right now, you've been driving with your eyes on the rearview mirror. That's why the road feels like déjà vu. But here you are, listening, ready. And that alone is proof of something powerful inside you. The part of you that kept turning pages rather than closing the book, that's your destiny refusing to be buried. So take a breath, not a polite breath, an honest one. In through the nose, down into the ribs, filling the quiet spaces you've ignored. Because you are about to relearn a spiritual technology your ancestors knew in their bones. The world follows the one who believes first. And if a small voice in you says, "But what if I'm wrong?" remember this. You've already tried doubt. You've already tried shrinking. You've already tried preparing for disappointment. How did that work? If you're going to gamble, gamble on hope. If you're going to bet, bet on the version of you who rises. Right now, the unseen is listening. And it listens with the innocence of law. It doesn't argue. It doesn't debate. It just echoes. So what are you going to make it echo from this moment forward? Because this is where the story shifts. Quietly, like a sunrise you don't notice until the room is full of gold. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Life has been waiting for your new sentence. And in a moment, I'm going to show you the single hidden habit that keeps miracles at arm's length, and how to reverse it tonight without fighting yourself. Stay with me. There is a subtle trap that looks like wisdom, but feels like exhaustion. It's the habit of bracing, the habit of preparing for the worst so you won't be blindsided, the habit of holding your joy in your mouth like it might spill. Most people think that's maturity. They call it being realistic. But Florence would gently smile and say, "You don't have to be realistic. You have to be right-minded," meaning aligned with the truth that life is responsive, pliable, and richer than fear would ever allow you to believe. Bracing is a prayer in reverse. You are asking for the future you dread by rehearsing it daily. Look at how the mind works. If you expect betrayal, your nervous system scans for betrayal. If you expect rejection, you interpret neutral faces as no's. If you expect scarcity, you see every expense as a cliff, every opportunity as a trap. The law of mind is not cruel, it's loyal. It says, "I will find what you are looking for." So if you are looking for danger, it will highlight danger. If you are looking for grace, it will spotlight grace. The world you see is the world your expectation selects, and expectation is built brick by brick, mostly in the quiet places, the stories you tell in the shower, the loops you run before sleep, the way you answer, "How are you?" when nobody's really listening. You are always prophesying, even when you don't mean to. So this is the modern reimagining of Florence's message. The 21st century is loud, fast, and beautifully distracting. It offers you a million ways to call your power back later. Later when you're healed. Later when the bank account settles. Later when you're not so tired. Later when you're sure. But power deferred is power diluted. The world doesn't change when you're ready. It changes when you decide. Decision is spiritual electricity. And that brings me to something very practical, very alive, and very close to you right now. Your life is shaped by 3 doors you walk through every day. The first door is your attention. The second door is your imagination. The third door is your speech. Attention chooses the seed. Imagination waters it. Speech plants it into soil. Most people are letting attention be hijacked by crisis. They spend the first hour of their day feeding the beast of urgency, scrolling through other people's highlight reels and horror stories, and then wonder why their mind feels like a crowded airport. They are planting yesterday's headlines into tomorrow's heart. What you attend to, you magnify. What you magnify, you become. So begin here. Practice sacred selectivity. If you wouldn't let a stranger into your living room to talk to your children, don't let a stranger into your mind to talk to your future. You get to decide what stays. You get to decide what leaves. You get to decide what gets the microphone. Now, around this point in the journey, I want to invite you into something that can change your life in a simple, steady, measurable way. If you feel that pull in your chest, the sense that you're done surviving on old scripts, there's a 21-day challenge linked in the description or pinned comment. It's designed for your real life, not a fantasy life. 21 days of choosing new words, new focus, new inner agreements, until they stop being exercises and start being identity. If your spirit is, "I'm ready," don't ignore it. Take that challenge. Let it be your bridge from listening to living, and I'll be here with you through it. Now let's keep walking. Florence taught that the subconscious is a garden that will grow whatever you drop into it. But she also knew something else. The garden doesn't respond to panic. It responds to impressing. Impressing is the gentle persistence of an idea until the inner world yields. This is why a single affirmation whispered once is a seed tossed on concrete. But an affirmation repeated with feeling, daily, quietly, is the same seed being buried in soft soil, watered by belief. That's how you re-educate your inner world. Not by wrestling it into submission, but by introducing it to a new normal. Here's a truth that people forget. Your subconscious doesn't speak logic. It speaks emotion. It doesn't understand, "Someday I'll be confident." It understands, "I feel safe to be seen." It doesn't understand, "Maybe things will improve." It understands, "I am carried, I am guided, I am held." When you speak, add feeling. Let the words land like warm rain. Try this with me in your own way. I am not behind. I am becoming. Say it like you mean it. Not loud, real. The body relaxes when it hears truth. And you might say, "But what about the facts? What about everything that's actually happening?" Listen, facts are footprints of old thinking. They are not final authorities. They are a report from the past, not a command for the future. If you keep consulting the past as your only witness, you will keep drawing the same conclusions. Do you want to know the most radical thing you can do when your world looks stubborn? Persist in a new inner picture anyway. Florence called it casting the burden. Today you might call it mental rehearsal. Either way, it's a sacred act. You place the outcome in a higher hand, and you live today from the assumption that it is handled. That doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you stop doing everything from fear. You stop chasing in panic. You stop forcing what you're meant to receive. You take action from a new identity, the identity of someone for whom things work out. Because here's the secret. The universe doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards alignment. You can push a locked door for years and it won't open. But when the right key meets the lock, it turns with barely a sound. And you are learning the key again. So if you feel the old heaviness rise, if you find yourself slipping back into bracing, don't judge yourself. Just notice, and then redirect, softly, like guiding a tired child back to bed. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be consistent. Consistency is what makes the invisible visible. Picture your life 6 months from now if you made this your daily craft. Not a dramatic overhaul, a quiet devotion. New words each morning, new expectations each night, new attention like a lantern in your hand. 6 months from now, you wouldn't recognize the old pattern. Not because problems never happen, but because you would happen inside the problem, differently. You would be the new factor. So tonight, I want you to do one small, luminous thing. Choose your sentence. Choose the phrase that will be your North Star, your inner spine, your quiet rebellion against the old world. It could be, divine ideas come to me clearly. Every day I'm led to what's mine. My life expands in perfect timing. My good is already in motion. Pick one, live with it, wear it like a ring. Let it be the first thing you say when your feet touch the floor and the last thing you say when you close your eyes. Because the days are going to pass anyway. The question is, who will you be when they do? And now, let's go deeper. Because there's a surprising reason some people affirm all day and still stay stuck, and it has nothing to do with willpower. Here is the reason affirmations sometimes feel like shouting into a canyon that never answers. You cannot plant new words in old soil and expect a harvest overnight. The soil I'm talking about is not your motivation. It's your self-concept, what you believe you are allowed to have, what you believe you are allowed to be, what you believe life is willing to do for someone like you. Florence taught that man's word is his wand, but a wand only works in the hand of someone who believes they're a magician. If your self-concept says, "I'm the person who struggles," then your words will fight a silent civil war inside you. Half of you speaks possibility, the other half, don't get your hopes up. And the universe, again, literal and loyal, mirrors the stronger conviction. So the work is not just changing sentences, it's changing identity. Identity is the deepest prayer. Let me say it another way. Your life is a stage, and your self-concept is the script you think you're supposed to read. If the script says, "I'm overlooked," you will unconsciously audition for roles where you are overlooked. If it says, "I don't get chosen," you will ignore invitations that prove otherwise, because they don't match the character you think you are. This isn't your fault. It's just how the mind protects consistency. It would rather be familiar than free. But freedom begins the moment you realize you can rewrite the script. So how do you change self-concept? Not by arguing with it, not by bullying yourself into confidence. You change it the way rivers change stone, by repetition, by gentle insistence, by a new experience of your own voice. Start seeing yourself through the lens of inevitability, not arrogance, inevitability. The quiet knowing that what is for you cannot miss you, that your good doesn't require your panic, that you can be both humble and certain. The modern world taught you that certainty is dangerous, that hope makes you naive, that expecting good makes you irresponsible. But that is a collective spell, an old agreement in a tired society, and you don't have to sign it anymore. Let's talk about the heart for a moment. The heart is not just a muscle that moves blood. It is an organ of meaning. When you have been disappointed enough times, your heart learns caution. It puts its hands in its pockets and says, "We're not doing that again." You might call that trauma. Florence would call it a false belief. Either way, it's a wound that became a worldview. So be tender with yourself. If you struggle to believe, it's not because you are broken, it's because you are trained. And training can be updated. Here's one of Florence's simplest, most radical principles. There is no loss in divine mind. What leaves you makes space. What ends was never your final assignment. What disappears is clearing the stage for a better entrance. You don't need to understand the whole plot to trust the author. You just need to keep your heart turned toward good. Now I'm going to say something that might land like a spark. You are not waiting for your life to change. Your life is waiting for you to change, internally first. And that internal shift sometimes feels like grief, because it requires you to let go of the old you, the one who knew how to survive, the one who got love by being small, the one who was praised for being low maintenance, the one who avoided disappointment by never really wanting anything loudly. That version of you was clever, protective, loyal. But you are graduating from survival now, and graduation always looks like discomfort at first. The chrysalis doesn't feel like a spa, it feels like pressure. But pressure is not a sign you're failing. Pressure is a sign you're transforming. So when you feel the ache of growth, don't interpret it as danger. Interpret it as expansion. Practice this inner posture. I welcome the unfamiliar goodness that is finding me. Not because you've earned it through pain, but because you are aligned with it through truth. This is how miracles happen in real life, not the Hollywood kind, the human kind. The kind where you look back and realize life turned not at the moment you got lucky, but at the moment you stopped arguing for your limitations. You've been using your imagination like a courtroom, presenting evidence of why it can't work, why it hasn't worked, why it probably won't work. Florence invites you to use imagination like a studio, a place where you sketch new possibilities before they exist in physical form. Go into the studio tonight. Close your eyes after this audio ends. See yourself in the life you desire, not with frantic begging, but with calm familiarity. Hear the sounds. Feel the textures. Notice your posture, how you breathe, how you speak to yourself. Because imagination is not fantasy, it is rehearsal. And rehearsal is how the subconscious learns what to accept. You are teaching your inner world what to expect. Maybe you want peace. See it. See the way you move through your home, the way silence feels like a blanket instead of a threat. Maybe you want love. See it. Not a specific person if that feels tight. See the feeling of being met, being respected, being chosen. Maybe you want prosperity. See the daily ease, the way you pay what needs paying without panic, the way you give without fear, the way you receive without guilt. Maybe you want purpose. See the morning that pulls you out of bed with quiet excitement. See the work that feels like you. This isn't pretending. This is planting. And the planting will feel strange at first, because your outer life may still look like a contradiction. But contradictions are normal during a shift. The new root grows while the old leaves are still on the tree. Don't dig up your seed to check if it's working. Let your new identity be your patience. Let your new identity be your steadiness. And let your new identity be your speech. If fear comes, say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose faith now." If doubt comes, say, "You are an old habit. You don't get to drive." If the past comes up shouting, say, "That was then. This is a new chapter." You don't have to fight the old self. You just have to outgrow it. Your future is not a lottery ticket. It's a language you learn, and you are learning it right now. In the next stretch, I'm going to tell you the final missing piece, the one Florence hinted at again and again. Why your good sometimes waits until you're finally willing to receive it. Receiving is a skill, and for many people, it's the hardest one. We think the hard part is dreaming. We think the hard part is working. We think the hard part is believing. But a surprising number of souls can believe in good for others and still flinch when good approaches them. They can cheer for a friend's win and still feel awkward when life tries to hand them their own. Florence watched this in her students. She saw people pray for blessings and then unconsciously shut the door when blessings arrived, because receiving meant changing the story of who they were. If your identity has been the struggler, receiving ease feels like betrayal. If your identity has been the helper, receiving help feels like weakness. If your identity has been the one who gets left, receiving love feels suspicious. If your identity has been the one who makes do, Receiving abundance feels unsafe. So receiving isn't just saying yes to the gift, it's saying yes to becoming the version of you who lives with that gift. That's why Florence would say things like, "Your good is seeking you," not "you are seeking your good." Because the flow is not one-sided. Life is not a stingy landlord. It is a lavish friend waiting to be welcomed. But welcoming requires space. Think about your hands for a second. If you keep them clenched around old disappointments, old grudges, old loyalties to pain, you cannot hold what is new. This is not a metaphor. It's a spiritual law. You can't receive with closed fists. So ask yourself gently, what am I still gripping that I could set down? Not because it wasn't real, not because it didn't hurt, but because I'm ready to travel lighter. Maybe you're gripping the need to be understood by people who won't understand you. Maybe you're gripping a relationship that only survives if you stay smaller than your soul. Maybe you're gripping the story that you always have to do it alone. Maybe you're gripping guilt. Guilt for wanting more. Guilt for outgrowing your old self. Guilt for not being who you used to be. Let it go. Not in a dramatic movie scene. Let it go the way a tree lets go of leaves when it's time. Quietly, naturally, without apology, because your season has changed. And now we come to the promise I hinted at in the beginning, the hidden truth that will only fully make sense right here at the end. You were never meant to beg life to love you. You were meant to command your own consciousness and let life rearrange itself accordingly. This is the great inversion. People think spirituality is about asking. Florence knew it was about aligning. When you align, asking becomes unnecessary. Asking is for the confused. Alignment is for the certain. So here is your final practice, the one that ties everything together. A 3-part declaration you can live inside. Claim your good. Not timidly, clearly. Divine right action is taking place in my life now. My path is opening with exactness. Everything that belongs to me is arriving in perfect order. Release the how. Your job is the what, not the how. How is the corridor where fear likes to camp. Say, I cast this burden on the infinite intelligence within me. It is handled. Receive in advance. Gratitude is a receipt for what's already on its way. Say, thank you for the good that is unfolding, seen and unseen. That's it. Claim, release, receive. Do you see how gentle this is? How sane? How human? There's no spiritual gymnastics here. There's no pretend smile glued on top of pain. There's just truth, spoken steadily, like a lighthouse turning in the dark. And if you practice this, the world will start to shift, not always immediately, not always loudly, but inevitably, because you are no longer debating your worth. You are no longer auditioning for your own destiny. You are no longer waiting for permission. You are living as the permission. Let me talk to the part of you that still fears disappointment. I understand. You've had hopes before. You've watched them fall like glass. You've promised yourself you wouldn't be foolish again. But faith is not foolishness. Faith is cooperation with law. It is the willingness to live as though the best is not only possible, but natural. You are not hoping for the best. You are expecting the right. There's a difference. Hope is beautiful, but expectation is powerful. Hope says, maybe. Expectation says, of course. And of course is the tone that reality obeys. So if your mind now tries to pull you back into old sentences, remember, you don't have to believe every thought you think. Thoughts are weather. You are the sky. Let the storm pass and keep your North Star sentence. And soon, maybe sooner than you imagine, you will notice the quiet evidence. A conversation that opens a door. A burst of courage you didn't force. A coincidence that feels like care. A burden lifting without a dramatic reason. An opportunity arriving in a way you didn't script. A sense of timing that makes you laugh softly and say, Oh, that's why. You will realize that your life was never random. It was responsive. And the deeper realization behind that is this: you are not a tiny figure in a giant, indifferent universe. You are a co-creator within a living, intelligent field of good. Your words matter. Your focus matters. Your willingness matters. You are not just surviving events, you are interpreting them. And interpretation is creation. So tonight, walking out of this narration, I want you to do the simplest sacred act. Stand where you are, or sit, or lie down, and speak to your own life like it can hear you. Because it can. Say out loud if you can, I am ready for my good. I am willing to receive. I release the old script. I choose the new chapter. And I trust the unfolding. And then breathe. Like someone who knows the sea is moving even when the shore looks still. Let that be your new normal. And if you ever forget, come back to this moment. Come back to the river, to the tributaries, to the wand in your mouth, to the script in your hands, to the door you walked through when you pressed play. Because it wasn't random. It was a rendezvous with your own power. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You are not disqualified. You are in the exact moment where a life can change. Quietly, profoundly, because a person decided to speak differently, look differently, expect differently, and receive differently. And that person is you. So go ahead now. Step forward with a new sentence on your lips and a new posture in your spine. The universe is listening. The good is seeking you. And the moment you agree with it, the world will begin to look like your agreement. That is the law. That is the promise. And this is the beginning you were always meant to live.